What is up, guys? It is the Scarlet Duelist back again with yet another deck profile that I am confident calling pretty good. This one I'm calling Mekk-Knight Invoked, just because I think it's funny. But also I've taken Mekk-Knight Invoked, and even from my previous videos, I've changed it even more. And there's a card that just really helps with your invoked plays in this deck. It kind of breaks it a little bit further, and it is called Salomon Mirage. It doesn't seem like much on the surface, but I've been testing it, and it really opens up a lot of doors for some versatile plays. I know the most obvious one being able to go into this guy and OTK, but it also can just lead into a lot more. It turns Alistar into a double resource right away. And he was kind of already that when you made Invoker of Madness, but people start to catch on to the fact that you're going to go for that play. So if that gets taken away from you, you can then instead go into Mirage, and it becomes a double resource, especially if you draw any other monster. So yeah, I'll definitely talk more about it when I go into the details of the profile, but guys, I think this is a really underrated deck for this format. I know going second is something that people are not really wanting to do. We're definitely still in a going first format, but what's cool about this deck is it actually can go first. So what I would say about this as far as the order is this is a deck that will choose to go second, but it can go first. And honestly, I think it's bad deck building if you build a deck that can only do one or the other anyway. Now, I know sometimes you don't have a choice, but what's really cool about this deck, guys, is it can go either way, and then I have the side deck built for what you choose to do later on in a match. So yeah, we'll definitely go over the changes, and hopefully you guys like it, but I've been testing with it, guys, and it's incredible. It's so much fun, too. So yeah, let's get going. Right away, we have all of our Mekk-Knight cards. So basically, all you need to know about these is they special summon themselves to a column with 2 or more cards in it. And all of them do that. You can only use 1 per turn, though, which is why we have so many. And they are light targets, and they are psychic, which is a different type and attribute from Alistar the Invoker, which we'll explain why that's important later if you don't know already. But the 2 big ones that you hope to run into the most are Blue Sky and Purple Nightfall. And finally, I saw a competitive profile that agrees with me on the high risk, high reward factor of running 3 Blue Sky over 3 Purple. Now, let me explain why I think this. And you can disagree and do what you want anyway. I will never know that you did it. But I believe that running Purple Nightfall at 3 is kind of silly because you're just deck thinning and starting over. So when you get Purple Nightfall, it's not that it's bad, but what happens is you do its special summon effect, and then you banish it to search this guy to do what it does. So you're deck thinning, and I guess that can help with consistency, but it's not really helping you build your boards better. And you're not really generating much of an advantage that way because it's a little slow to be depending on this guy's, return effect, in my opinion. So I would rather open with this guy, special summon it, get 2 more Mekk-Knights, and then keep going and build off of that rather than do this, play it, banish it to get a Mekk-Knight, and essentially just start my turn back over. Even though he returns the next turn, I just find that to be a bit of a silly move. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, do what you want. But that's why I play 3 blue. So he searches for the amount of cards in the column that your opponent has, which is a really high reward for just special summoning. And it's a really good bait, too, because your opponent does not want you to get 2 more cards or even 1 more card. So they're probably going to negate that. So that's just my opinion on those. But the really cool cards, I love the artwork. That's not part of this deck profile, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. I think they're really cool. Next, we have, obviously, Alistar, because he is your main engine card. What he does is get you your invocation, which is why you only run it at 2. I've seen people run it at 3, but it becomes a brick at that point, guys, because it's so dang searchable and it recycles itself. So running it at 3 just doesn't feel necessary, but if you're having problems seeing it, I guess go ahead and do that. Yeah, up to you. Then we have a Time Maiden, which I know a lot of people are like, why? So this, if you do end up going first, can be really, really helpful because it's a different type and attribute from Alistar. It is a light target or, that sounded weird, sorry. I didn't mean or as the phrasing, I just said both on accident. Or you could also create your columns. Let's say you open on this and only Mekk-Knights, you don't see Alistar at all or a way to get to him. You can then make Link Karibo and then have a way to create a column space in order to special summon your Mekk-Knights and continue into other plays, which is our contingency plan, which is why we have Morningstar in the deck so that you can then search out World Legacy's Secret and have 2 negates ready. That's like plan D. That's not ever what you're going to go for first, but sometimes you do open up on only your Mekk-Knights and a few other cards. So, you want to have something that you can do. So that's why that's there. But Time Maiden is really, really valuable because it can help you go into Madness, create columns, and then it becomes a light target to make Mekaba. And I'll explain why having 3 Mekaba is a big deal in case you haven't caught on. I talked about this the last time in my deck profile, but it is a really consistent going first move where you can shut your opponent down. And Time Maiden really ups the consistency. Same thing here and another bonus effect with Photon Thrasher, but we'll get there in a minute. Next, we've got Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, obviously, and Effect Veiler. These are your 5 hand traps to stop your opponent's turn because, again, you are choosing to go second, which is why you also have Mind Control. So some people run 3 Effect Veiler, and they even run even more hand traps than that, and like Phantasme. You can do that. So Phantasme is out of my budget, unfortunately. But I don't want to open on too many going second cards because what you're going to do with that is you're going to have lots of ways to stop your opponent, but you're going to do nothing yourself. So 5 is a good number for this. That's just me. Again, do what you want. Next, you have Photon Thrasher. And so some of you are probably like, what is he doing? But okay, so you're going to see Alistar, right? You've got essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 copies of Alistar. Yeah, you're going to probably see him. And we unfortunately did lose a copy of Terraforming, but we won't talk about that. So why have Photon Thrasher? I have it for a number of reasons. You're choosing to go second. But if you're going first, you can also play this, go into your Madness, and if essentially, guys, if you get Alistar and 2 light type monsters in your hand, you just double Calamitied. Or not double Calamitied, you just double Mekaba'd into a Calamity. If you're going second and you manage to stop your opponent's turn, bait out negates, and they have a monster in attack position with 2,000 or less attack, you just won the game because you can Utopia double. That's why I have Photon Thrasher in the deck. It is very versatile. It can do a lot of things for you. It can help you go into any of these. Okay, so it's really good, and it's just an inherent summon, and nothing happens. Your opponent would have to negate it with like a Solemn Strike or something like that, but they're not. They're going to wait for you to do something else, unless they make poor choices. Yeah, so Photon Thrasher, very good card. Then we have Terraforming, just as your 4th copy of Meltdown. Mind Control, because you are going to choose to go second, but the reason I didn't put this at 3 is because you don't want to tailor a deck to be able to only go second or first. And I felt as though throwing that into 3 and then on top of other cards in this deck, I feel like I'm just turning this into a can only go second or lose deck. And I don't want that. I want to be able to do something going first because chances are as soon as your opponent finds out you're playing this deck, they're going to tell you to go first because they think you can't. And then you're like, well, watch this. And you do. And you win. And you celebrate. And you go eat something. That's unrelated, but I'm assuming you would. Then we have Invocation. Again, it's searchable, so that's why we only have 2. It recycles itself. You know the drill. Then we have Instant Fusion, and this is really interesting because it opens up more than just Thousand Eyes Restrict and then making Linkuriboh to open up columns. That's one way to do it if you do draw only Mekk-Knights, but Instant Fusion's really versatile because you can make Kaliga and then overlay into double if you're in a pinch. You can make Raijin and then use its effect and then go into Madness and all the above. You can make this too if you'd like, and then steal your opponent's monster. It's just a really versatile card to give you a free material for whatever situation you're in. But I don't have this at 3 either because you can only use it once per turn, and running it at 3, I ended up just seeing it way too much. And you can only use it once per turn, like I said. You're just not going to need it as often as you think. So it's in there, you know what I mean? 2 ofs are cards that basically you want to see them when you want to see them. And that's it. So then we've got 3 Called by the Grave. So I used to run Prohibition for the column factor, but something dawned on me. Now, I do think that Prohibition is still a viable card. It can be really useful if you use it in the right ways, but I realized it's only good after I know what my opponent's playing. So I took it out because, you know, you don't want to just auto lose the first game in a match. So Called by the Grave I put in because Alistar's a really, really, really vulnerable choke point. And as fun as Prohibition was at 2, it just wasn't something that I could do all the time because I don't know always what my opponent's going to play. Like, I wasn't prepared. I was playing against, when I played against Subterror Gurus for the first time, I just didn't know much about them, hadn't done a lot of research, and they've got their own in-archetype hand trap that I could have, if I had Called by the Grave, you know what I mean, I could have done that, but I didn't, so I couldn't. So yeah, definitely substituted that in. For that, it just became a matter of, okay, Prohibition was fun with my friends because I know what they play. I can call what hand traps they're playing because I know that. But in a tournament setting, you don't know that. You could blind call Ash, but you just, like I said, you don't know. And a lot of people run this at 2 because their mentality is this is a going second deck and Called by the Grave is a going first card. While I could agree with that statement, like I said, we're tailoring this deck to be able to go either way. So we've got an even mix. And then again, when you go into game 2 or game 3, that's what the side deck is for. Then you're like, okay, I'm going to side for going in a specific order. And that's that. But yeah, I think that Called by the Grave is definitely needed. That way you don't end up kind of just screwed with your Alistar out there and no copies of Invocation. You don't want that to happen. Then we've got Double or Nothing. So this is a Garnet, and in the last tournament I played in, I drew it 7 of the 10 games that I played. It was really annoying because there are 40 other cards in the deck, and I drew it opening turn, and I don't know if you know this, but when you draw it, you can't use it. It's dead. Because Utopia Double's whole thing is, it's not, you can search it and then make Utopia. Excuse me. You have to do both effects. Like, it's all one effect. So I couldn't do the double play like I wanted to, but that is a total fluke. You will not draw Double or Nothing that consistently like I did. I can almost guarantee, well, I can't because it's all chance. Maybe you actually will. But it was just one of those frustrating experiences where this deck actually did not do well then, just because I got some rotten draws, guys. I really did. I don't, like, again, opening on this in your first 5 cards, 7 of the 10 duels you play was really rough. So that kind of sucked. But I do think it's worth it, guys. And that's actually why I have 41 cards in it, is to reduce consistency by just a fraction of a percentage, that it's not hurting the cards that you want to see the most, but it kind of does reduce seeing your one-ofs, which is a good thing. You don't really want to. All the one-ofs in this are searchable except for terraforming. So yeah, you just want to be sure that you have the right consistency. Oh, and if you don't know what this, I should explain what this does. Yeah, went on a rant. You should. What am I saying? I don't know why I said you should. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. Doesn't even set up the sentence correctly. So why this is in here? Like I said, with Photon Thrasher and Instant Fusion, you have access to a level 4 monster, and then you get Alistar, pretty dang searchable himself. You can then overlay into double and potentially OTK your opponent. That for me is a budget solution to having Boral Sword. However, if you already own a Boral Sword, you could definitely save some space in your deck and extra deck, take out the Boral Load, and then, or I guess you could just substitute it in and keep Boral Load too if you like him. And then put in Boral Sword. But yeah, I can't personally do that. I cannot afford to buy that card yet. But yeah, so that's my solution to that issue, and being able to OTK a little bit more, because people know about Purgatrio. Sometimes they'll hit them with some stuff and you won't be able to do it. So that just gives you more options to OTK with. Then you have the Book of the Law. This is actually a big catalyst, that's the word I'm looking for, in being able to OTK, because it's searchable with Madness, and Madness's effect is not once per turn. So you can just keep, if you can keep fusion summoning and overlaying and fusion summoning, you can keep searching out these cards, and then you get your Book of Law, and then you attack, use it, bring out another invoked monster, and then win. So that's what that's for. It really pushes the game forward. Once if you can simplify the game state and just be attacking, you can win with this card, and you can search it when you need it. Next, we have Pinpoint Landing, because we special summon from the hand a heck of a whole lot. So this is really good. It creates a column for your Mekk-Knights, allows you to draw a card. So it's just an overall win. It's a good card. Then we have Magical Meltdown, now back at 3 because we lost that copy of Terraforming. Kind of sucks, because sometimes when you draw multiples of this, you're just like stuck with it. But it's not too bad to have some recursion for next turn if they do break your board. So, yeah, you know what it does. Searching for Alistar. And actually, what did come in clutch just recently was it stopped my fusion summons from being negated. So that's a bonus. It's nice. And finally, we have World Legacy's Secret. This is, like I said, Plan D. If you open on only Mekk-Knights, what you can do is you make Morningstar. He allows you to discard one of your Mekk-Knight monsters to search this. And so you'll set this, and you will then activate it once your opponent activates a monster effect. And then you'll special summon a Mekk-Knight in that column, right? Hopefully it's this guy. Because if you bring out this guy, it turns it into 2 negates. So what'll happen is you'll special summon your Indigo Eclipse in that column the first time, negating that monster effect. Then if they try to activate another one, you just move him to the next column that one's activating in, and it would negate that as well. So that gives you 2 negates as a backup plan if you don't open on a good hand. And finally, the extra deck, Mirage. So this allows Alistar to, let me just paint a scenario for you. You open on Alistar and a Mekk-Knight. So you can then make this with your Alistar, and your Alistar's now in the graveyard, and so you now just have options to build into higher links, or go into Purgatrio, and so on. So it just really, really does kind of beef up your plays a little more, so that you don't have to get out, what am I trying to say? You don't have to get out these guys first and then play Alistar. What you can do then is, at least with your Mekk-Knights, because these guys do require you have no monsters, so you would have to get them, but they're inherent summons. So what you would do then is, to avoid being negated too early, or maybe to bait some negates and so on, you can play Alistar, make Mirage. That created a column, and boom, now you can play your Mekk-Knights and just push a little further in the game to have more board presence without wasting your resources. So it becomes really, really cool, and your boards just can be bigger that way. Or I guess, yeah, just a consistent 1-card invoked Purgatrio if you're going that route and trying to just OTK if you've simplified the game state, stopped your opponent's turn, and so on. Then we have Link Haribo, just because that can be useful in a pinch when you do have Time Maiden or Instant Fusion to make your restrict. So yeah, you just got to be careful with the restrict play though, because some things like to land in the graveyard, so you don't always want to link them off. Sometimes you just want to keep it, but I guess, well, with instant fusion, it's going to die anyway. So yeah, just go for it. But yeah, you just got to be careful. And we've got Madness. So he's there to search additional copies of Invocation so that you can make multiple invoked monsters. And what I do with Madness is make him search Invocation, make multiple Makabas, and then overlay into Calamities. And you can do that as long as you open on essentially Alistar and 2 light monsters. You don't even have to be able to summon both of those light monsters. As long as you just have them, you've made Calamities. So it's a really, really powerful strategy going first, as long as you feel like you can pull it off. Then we have Morningstar, again, contingency plan, and he can help with some protection with your Mekk-Knights because they can't be destroyed with his special effect there about being in certain columns. Then you have Borreload, and that's there if you're really confident that you're going to push for game, or and you can steal your opponent's monster and just go. But I don't often make Borreload. I tend to go for the other plays first, but it's there if you need to. I've explained double, so this is just automatic 10,000 attack. If you can attack an opponent's monster that has 2,000 or less attack, you just won. So that's there as a plan. If you did stop your opponent's turn, and you've baited negates or they don't have any negates, you can just go for that play and you're good. Calamities is a turn stopper, so that's our turn 1 go-to if we're going first, because then we can push for game next turn, no problem. Eyes Restrict, again, it's kind of just another mind control. So you essentially have 4 copies of mind control that way. Then you have Caliga, and this can be really good not only as an Exceeds material from Instant Fusion, but if you are in a pinch and you just want to play this, what you can do is use Instant Fusion, make Restrict, link it away into Link Karibo, and then make Caliga, and then your opponent is now limited to 1 attack and 1 monster effect per turn, as long as you can keep Caliga protected and on the field. So that's one way to stun your opponent too, as a contingency plan. We'll call that Plan E. And then you have Invoked Raijin, which is really nice because you use a lot of resources to make your Makabas, and you have to have resources to negate with him. So if you want a form of disruption that doesn't require you to lose resources, you can always search Book of Law and then go into Raijin that way. And even if if you get lucky and your opponent's playing wind monsters, you can just use their resources to make him too, because Raijin is a really good disruptor without losing resources. Purgatrio, your OTK machine, you know what it do, and then Makaba, your Negati boy, so that you can also overlay it into the better Negati boy. And so, that's the extra deck, guys. It's really powerful. You've got some really cool plays that you can do. And the side deck, again, is so that you can kind of determine, do I need removal? And I shortened Pinkertops for a couple reasons. 1, it's Earth. 2, these all are trying to accomplish the same goal, which is to remove things. Oh, this too. So needing Pinkertops at 3, well, I just didn't, I felt like. So I took it out. I took one of them out because it's still okay if I don't see any of the others. But it's not something that becomes super versatile for me in this deck, but it's a nice form of removal. And I finally have Vanity's Fiend because I special summon so much that this can be a game winner against certain decks that just need to special summon to get going. So if you can pull this out, if you know you're going to be made to go first, take out the mind controls, throw in your Vanity's Fiend, and take out the effect failures too. Throw in your Twin Twisters, that kind of thing. So then you're ready to go first, and you can stun your opponent a little bit. And obviously Denko's there to stop back row. That's what this is for too. But yeah, so that's the deck, guys. It's so much fun, and it's really powerful. I really think this is underrated. I know Mekk-Knight Invoked has kind of fallen off for a little bit, but I think Mirage really has helped push it back to at least be like a tier 3 rogue option. Now, my tier system, I think this is one of these that could definitely top a regional again and steal some wins at least at a YCS, if not win it too. Obviously, people do some more expensive plays and have some better options. This is my budget, so definitely throw in some cards that you feel like are better. If you have a greater budget than me, you can definitely take this build and make it even more competitive. But yeah, I think even the one you're looking at right now could do really well. Unfortunately, when it doesn't, a lot of that is based on luck. And that's just the way it is. You know, sometimes you could bring two people could bring the exact same deck. One could get 400th place out of 400. The other one could be in like the top 32. It just happens, guys. So yeah, but as far as, you know, taking luck out of it, looking at what plays well in the current format, I think this could really do well. Because Super Poly doesn't really hurt you too bad, because you've got a lot of different types, and ain't nobody super poly in all your light types, you know? So I think you can do pretty well with it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Actually, I'm going to go back and show you. So this is what a lot of like the more competitive people are saying to play. So if you can afford all of these, go for it. I'm sure this is good, but I like to experiment and try new things. So my build I like a little better personally, but this is the build that a lot of competitive people are playing right now, I think. So if that's you, if that's something you can afford to do, definitely go for it. But if not, this one is really fun and it works really well, guys. It can do it. You know what I mean? It can do it. Do what? I don't know. Did I lose what I'm saying? Yes. Am I not sure how to end this video? Well, you could answer that with yes or no. Am I a little bit embarrassed by it? No, because you can't see me. And for some reason that helps. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. Subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. And see you next time. Bye.